Authority makes people uncomfortable, not because authority is wrong, but because most of what we've seen modeled as authority has been armored, rigid, defensive, controlling, unreachable. So when you step into authority as a parent, a leader, a business owner, a teacher, even just the stable one in a room, something inside you hesitates. You don't want to become that. You don't want to harden. You don't want to dominate. You don't want ego to sneak back in. So sometimes you soften too much. You over-explain. You second-guess. You delay decisions. You try to be liked instead of clear. And slowly, authority blurs. Season 10 is about participation without becoming. And authority is one of the cleanest tests of that. Because authority without identity is powerful. Authority with identity is oppressive. Authority without armor is steady. Authority with armor is defensive. Let's be honest. If you are responsible for anything, a child, a team, a household, a project, you have authority, whether you like it or not. Avoiding that doesn't make you humble. It makes you unclear. An unclear authority creates confusion. Confusion creates instability. Instability creates anxiety, in you and in others. People actually feel safer when authority is clean. Not loud, not aggressive, clear. But to hold authority cleanly, you cannot build identity around it. You cannot become the authority. You cannot need control to feel secure. You cannot need obedience to validate yourself. That's armor, and armor always cracks under pressure. Authority without armor looks like this. You make a decision. You explain it briefly. You stand by it. If new information arises, you adjust. If pushback comes, you listen. If correction is needed, you correct. But you don't defend your existence. You don't escalate to prove strength. You don't collapse to preserve approval. You remain steady. That steadiness is felt, especially by children, especially by employees, especially by partners. Let's bring this home. You tell your child no. They protest. Emotion rises. Volume increases. If your authority is armored, you react. You raise your voice. You tighten your tone. You assert dominance. Because their resistance feels like disrespect, feels like threat. But if identity isn't involved, their protest is simply emotion. You stay steady. You say no again. Calm, clear, not harsh, not apologetic, just grounded. Children test structure not because they hate it, but because they need to feel it. If your authority collapses under pressure, they feel unsafe. If your authority explodes under pressure, they feel afraid. If your authority stays steady, they feel secure. That steadiness requires no armor, just clarity. Now let's shift to work. You're in charge of a team. Standards matter. Performance matters. Direction matters. If you soften too much to avoid being the boss, you create confusion. People don't know expectations. They don't know boundaries. They don't know accountability. You may think you're being kind, but unclear leadership burdens everyone. Authority without armor says, this is the standard. This is the timeline. This is the boundary. Delivered calmly, without apology, without aggression. And if someone pushes back, you listen, you evaluate, you adjust if needed, but you don't collapse, because authority isn't your identity. It's your role in that moment. Roles shift, identity clings, participation responds. Here's where it gets subtle. Sometimes we avoid authority because we're afraid of becoming egoic. We think strength equals arrogance. We think decisiveness equals dominance. We think boundaries equal coldness. But that's confusion. Ego-driven authority needs to win. Clean authority needs clarity. Ego-driven authority fears being questioned. Clean authority welcomes dialogue. Ego-driven authority punishes dissent. Clean authority listens and then decides. You can be warm and firm at the same time. Soft heart, strong spine. That's not a slogan. That's a nervous system posture. Let's talk about your body for a moment. When you step into authority, what happens internally? Does your chest tighten? Does your throat constrict? Do you overthink your words? Do you replay conversations later? That's identity involvement. You're worried about how you're perceived, how you're judged, how you're evaluated. Authority without armor doesn't obsess afterward. You say what's needed. You stand steady. You move on. If reflection is required, you reflect. But you don't spiral, because you're not building self-image. You're participating in responsibility. There's also something important here. Authority without armor requires emotional regulation, not suppression, regulation. If you're dysregulated, authority turns reactive. You speak sharply. You withdraw. You become passive-aggressive. You avoid confrontation. So part of clean authority is internal steadiness, which means you sleep, you rest, you take space when needed. You don't make major decisions when flooded. Participation includes caring for your own system, because a dysregulated leader creates a dysregulated environment. And here's something that might challenge you. Sometimes people don't like clean authority, because they're used to negotiating with insecurity. If you've been unclear in the past, and now you become steady, some people may resist. They may test you. They may call you rigid. They may accuse you of changing. You are changing. You're dropping armor. And sometimes armor looked like overflexibility. Participation doesn't require everyone's approval. It requires clarity. Now let's flip it. What if you resist other people's authority? Is it because they're controlling? Or because authority triggers identity in you? Maybe you associate authority with childhood experiences. Maybe it reminds you of being powerless. Maybe it brings up rebellion. Participation without becoming also means interacting with authority cleanly. You can disagree respectfully. You can set boundaries. You can leave environments that are unhealthy. But you don't automatically interpret authority as oppression. You evaluate. You respond. Without identity flare. Authority without armor is especially powerful in relationships. Instead of, "You always do this," you say, "This doesn't work for me." Instead of, "You never listen," you say, "I need you to hear this." Instead of escalating volume, you steady tone. Instead of withdrawing, you stay present. You don't become dominant. You don't become submissive. You remain grounded. That groundedness invites respect, not fear. Not manipulation, respect. Here's the deeper layer. When you no longer need authority to define you, you become less attached to power. And that makes you safer. Safer to lead, safer to follow, safer to partner with, because you're not defending a throne. You're fulfilling a role, and roles shift. Sometimes you lead, sometimes you follow, sometimes you collaborate, sometimes you step back. Armor makes you cling to position. Participation allows fluidity. So here's the challenge this week. Identify one area where you hold authority. Home, work, community, even just your own habits. And notice, are you avoiding clarity to stay liked? Are you escalating to feel powerful? Are you over-explaining to justify yourself? Experiment with clean authority. Say less. Be clear. Hold the boundary. Don't harden. Don't collapse. Just steady. Then notice how your body feels. Notice how others respond. Notice how much energy you save when you're not performing authority. Season 10 is about mature participation. You care without carrying. You handle conflict without identity. You build without becoming the builder. You lead without armor. No image to protect. No dominance to assert. No collapse to hide in. Just steady involvement in life as it unfolds. Next episode, we'll explore something that connects deeply to authority and ambition. Discipline without self-punishment. Because many people build structure through shame, and that's not sustainable. If this episode resonated, share it with someone stepping into leadership. And if you're ready to hold strength without hardening, stay here. Season 10 continues.